mental illness is something that we all go through out here. And what we'll do is we'll overlook certain things, you know, because it's a mental illness, right? We will be quick to point out the faults in somebody else, but not the faults in ourselves, right? And that we look and we try to fix. When people haven't went through things that was normal, that's a mental illness, right? You know, I think if you've been hurt in any way, mentally, emotionally, spiritually, physically, you need a therapist for all that. You don't just need physical therapy if you've been hurt. You need mental therapy if you've been hurt. You have, regardless, spiritual therapy, all that, regardless of what you say, just because you can get up every day like, hey, I still got to do what I got to do in life. Yeah, we know that, right? But why do you still look at shit and say, nah, I'm okay? Nah, it's not okay, because you can be hurting other people and not know it, and not be aware. You can be sick and not be aware. And I think everybody needs a therapist, right? If you look at the way, and this ain't no clown or nobody, you look at the way some niggas dress. They still dress like teenagers. You got females out here that still dress like they teenagers and have the mind like that, right? Instead of saying, well, damn, I'm on some grown shit now. I want to be grown. And I'm not saying that I don't like go through shit like when I listen to, music that be about shooting and killing and shit like that. And that's because I grew up in that environment, right? That caused me mental illness. But I realize it's something that I have to check, right? So I check myself, much as I can, right? And I accept constructive criticism, right? Because that's something that we're supposed to be always trying to give, is constructive criticism. So, when folks look at stuff and say, well, I'm not going to, listen to this or do this or whatever like that, that's because you're not really trying to help yourself. Now, I tell people like this: if you don't understand, like when you love somebody, you're supposed to love people without conditions, right? Because God loved you without any. Now, people say, well, I'm not God. And I say, duh, motherfucker, we know that. It doesn't take a genius to know this, but don't use the Bible when it's just convenient for you. Don't be quoting Bible verses and shit, and that's not what you about when you look at other people's faults and you condemn them, but you're not looking at your own. And what if God looked at you the same way you looked at people? Because you're supposed to try to model his image, so because you want to try to be close to God, to be his friend. You ain't gonna be God's friend if you don't have any resemblance of him. You know what I'm saying? Spiritually in your heart, you're not gonna have that, right? So that's like, I've seen people that used to do drugs and got off drugs, and they clown people that's on drugs, and I'll be like, how does that even make sense? You know what I'm saying? The stuff would just be so crazy. Mental illness is at an all-time high out here. Sometimes we don't even, a lot of times people are not even liking people because they have mental illnesses. Mental illness is something that people go through, went through in their life, that's not normal, right? So, it's just like when people look at things and they say, well, I've, done this, and, I've been through this, and I've made this happen and made this happen. And I say, okay, you know what? You're right. You probably have. But what I'm also saying is that, have you got any help for it? I known females, and I still know to this day, that's been sexually assaulted, right? And they've been sexually assaulted, and they still get up, they go to work, they still do things to live in life, but it's like, baby, that's, you're not okay, because you went through something that wasn't normal. So you need that spiritual therapy, some physical, you know what I'm saying, and mental therapy for sure, because what you went through wasn't normal. If you've been physically abused, what you are going through is not normal. What you've been through is not normal. You can't just put a band-aid on that shit. Just like the people who used to do drugs, they go get help, they go get therapy because they've hurt themselves. You know what I'm saying? It's physical therapy. When you see people drinking and smoking, and they know that drinking and smoking causes cancer and all kinds of stuff, but people still do it. Why? Because they're trying to cover up that pain. You know what I mean? So that's why I say we need to be more on helping each other a lot more, not condemning each other. you know, and asking ourselves like, what can we do to get better as a people out here? Because we're all put on this earth so we can help each other. Because everybody has tools that somebody else don't have. But some people choose to use those gifts. Some people choose to misuse those gifts or use those gifts to abuse other people, right? Which it's not right. You know, we have to learn to understand how to be fair. You can't grade everybody that has somebody who has a mental illness or somebody who doesn't do something as well as you. You can't uh, get mad at people or down people and stuff like that. That's not right. Because at the end of the day, and they always say this, the only one who sits high and looks low is God. Right? Don't just follow the word when it's convenient for you. Don't just be right when it's convenient for you. If you wrong with somebody, try to go make that shit right. And guess what? If you see somebody trying to make some shit right with you and you turn your head like fuck them, you have to understand God can do that to you too. Now, do you have to deal with a person again? No, you don't. Of course, we know that, right? We know that you don't have to deal with a person again, but at the end of the day, if you see people making progress and they were good people for you to let them in your life, you got to kind of take that with a grain of salt in a sense. And I'm not saying that you put shit out there for you to be hurt again, but I'm also saying that, spirits take over people. Now, you'll hear people say, people be knowing what the fuck they doing. If a spirit is in that person, are they really in control? Do y'all believe in possession? Like people can be possessed? Now, if they're not doing things to keep up with the maintenance of things with themselves or whatever, then yeah, and I'm not telling you to throw yourself in the fire. I'm telling you just to have a better understanding. That's all I'm saying. Right? So look at stuff in love, and when you love unconditional. Don't put conditions on people. Because God loved you and he's not putting conditions on you. To say that he ain't gonna never love you. He still love you if you turn on him. He may have to put his hands up and say, hey, I can't deal with that. But we can't be so quick to condemn and judge people that's hurt. Hurt people, right? So that means if you're hurt, you're a person and a person will hurt themselves. Now, I'm always saying be careful with who you deal with, because don't let no motherfucker hurt you if you can help it, no. If a person has a cold or they sick or whatever, right? And they come around you and they throw up, would you be mad at them if you kept them around knowing that they're sick, right? And that sickness can hurt you. And you going around them without mask or without proper precaution or whatever the case is, right? And then you get sick. Would you be mad at that person or more mad at yourself? Or would you be like, hey, I can't help this person on this level physically, but I got to have them over there, wish them the best. You love them, until they get the help they need. You know what I'm saying? Would that mean that you wouldn't let them come back around you? If they took precaution, they're cleared up, they, taking their medication, whatever they doing. So would that mean that you wouldn't deal with them? Look at the fact of this too. Or are you, or when you deal with them, you have to deal with them from a different scale. You know what I'm saying? I don't expect everybody to agree with some of the stuff I'm saying. The only thing I'm saying is bring your whole mind with things and just think of things at all sectors, because what it does is challenge you to think different, not just think the way that you think, because everybody has different perspectives. Understand people got mental illnesses. And when people have mental illnesses, pray for them and help them the best way you can if it doesn't hurt you. Love unconditionally. Try to get close to God to be his friend. Hope everybody have a good day. Love.